Ladies and gentlemen, and this is Inflation Explained in 6 Minutes by the channel Johnny Harris. Yes. Alright. Johnny Harris is a good channel. I've seen few videos by him already. He tackles topics in fine enough manner, I guess. So this is about obviously all the events that is happening in the world right now, and also definitely the COVID. Probably will have a long-lasting effect with inflation. So obviously everybody knows about inflation is somewhat, right? But it's the simplest way I can explain is that basically every country, every economy has their own worth by service or resources they have, right, in the global standing. Like there is a country that can provide certain service, right? They are valued at that. This is their value, and so their economy's value is this, and based on that, basically their currency has value, right? The rupee is like what 75 rupee for dollar or something is going right now. So basically, obviously, it's a bit more complicated than that, but at the base of it, that's what it is. Every country and every economy has a value, right? And that's that. Now, if a country suddenly decides to double its money, basically printable money, right? Suddenly, now the richness of that country, right? The value of that country is not going to get doubled. It is what it is, right? In the global standing. But now there is double paper money or double money, whatever. So what will happen is, say, like suddenly US decides to print double the amount of dollars. Now every single dollar is worth the half, right? So obviously now more people has more money in USA, but that doesn't mean that dollar has more value, right? That dollar is half now. Basically, US's economy has the same value it did. Just printing double money will not do anything. But what's going to happen is, let's say somebody want to buy a Japanese bike, Kawasaki, Honda, whatever, from Japan, right? Now they're going to have to first, before it would have been like $8,000 or something. Now it's going to be $16,000. Because to Japan, it doesn't matter how much money you print. To them, US has certain value, right, in the global economy, right, through services or, through resources or whatever. So basically, that's what inflation is. You print more and more money, you flood the market with it, and that is going to create inflations. The prices of things is going to rise. That's why I think after World War I, if the bread or something in the, Germany or something, was ridiculous amount. Like people sold their houses and couldn't even buy one time's bread just to eat, which was ridiculous. But yeah. Alright, so let's watch it how Johnny Harris explains in just 6 minutes. I like when somebody takes a very short time to explain a complex topic. It's gonna be fun.
No cool intro, no fancy music. I just want to explain inflation in 6 minutes. I have a degree in economics. I spent years trying to understand this. So let's see if I can boil it down. What is inflation? Why is it rising? Why are people worried? And what do interest rates have to do with it?
The Federal Reserve is raising the interest rate
to raise interest rates.
Highest inflation in 40 years.
Listen, I know that I make long videos. I'm into nuance, I'm into backstory. Well, this isn't that. This is quick. No, really, this is quick. Let's go. Wait, rewind. Hold on 1 second. Before we start the timer, I need to tell you that I was going to do an ad read in the middle of the explanation. Like I was going to stop the explanation and do an ad read, but I realized I want this to be an uninterrupted 6-minute explanation. So I'll even take out the YouTube ads that are on it so that it can be uninterrupted. But for now, I need to thank today's sponsor because it's literally my job. It's how I get paid. Thank you, BetterHelp, for supporting this video and my channel generally. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, or even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. Therapy is a giant part of my life. Been doing it for several years now, and I believe in it. But I know that finding a therapist is hard and cumbersome, and BetterHelp is trying to change that. It's all on the internet. All you have to do is take a quiz, and they link you up with a therapist. They have a giant network of over 20,000 licensed therapists. You can be talking to someone in like 48 hours. And if your therapist isn't a good fit, you can change for free, which is a huge deal. So join the 2 million plus people who are taking charge of their mental health with BetterHelp. You can even get 10% off your first month if you go to the link in my description, betterhelp.com/Johnny Harris. Do us both a favor and click on that link and go see if therapy can improve your life as much as it has mine. Thank you, BetterHelp, for supporting this video. Okay, the ad is over. Let's start the clock up again and see if I can do this explanation in 6 minutes. Here we go.
Seriously though, I mean, of all the ads, this is kind of a important one, a smart one at that, because everybody feels a bit somewhat, I don't know, ashamed or something if they want to go to therapy or something in their own town or something, right? Even today in even the developed worlds, developed countries, there's this mentality still. Right, so online basically with the corona, how everything became just like online webcam thing, right? So yeah, but getting therapy privately online is that people definitely need that shit.
Okay, first up, the simplest definition. Inflation is when there is more money in the economy than stuff to spend it on. But if you're like me, the simplest definition never does it for you. So let's try this. Imagine a village that has one market where people buy all of their stuff, their food, their clothes. But one day the government shows up because they're worried about the economy of this village. So they tell the people that if they want to take out a loan, they're going to make sure that the banks will not charge them a high interest rate. They want to encourage the people to take out loans and spend money. Oh, and they also drop off a giant pile of cash for everyone in the village. And everyone in the village is like, sweet, I'm feeling pretty rich. Villagers now are going to their market and they're buying way more stuff. Many of them have been eyeing the fancy electric bike in the market that before they couldn't justify, but now they totally can because they have all this new money. The store owner's like, sweet, this is great for business, but he's running out of bikes. In fact, he's running out of everything because now all of these people have extra money and they're buying way more than they used to. The store owner's like, I can't keep up with all this demand. I should raise prices. And that is inflation. But the village is all of us, and the market is the entire economy. When there's extra money floating around and people want to spend it faster than businesses can make stuff, then all of the businesses in all of the industries raise their prices. And that is inflation. It's a natural part of the economy. It's kind of a good thing in small doses because it means that the economy is growing. And it's why movie tickets used to be 25 cents and now they're like $15. And slowly over time, it's fine. Okay, let's go back to the village and see what happens if we keep going at this rate. The store owner has now
I know he's explaining in simplistic terms, but if you look at the global scale thing, basically this bicycle is not just locally made with the local equipment, like I explained before, right? So equipment comes from all around the world, and like I said, the economy has a value, right? And if you flood the market with more money, that economy is not gonna become richer someday. It's gonna have the same value. Now the paper, whatever you're using, the money has less value than it did before, right? And that's why price is high too. I mean, obviously, the complexity runs all the way, right? If you flood the market, the prices will rise, sure, but it's also the matter of, basically whoever is selling you this knows that now that particular money has less value because there's so many of it.
Doubled his prices on bikes. The interest rate is super low, so he takes out a loan to build a new factory to make bikes. This is good. He's growing a business. But the government money eventually runs out, and his prices are still double. But now the store owner has no one to come buy all of his new bikes. And now he has this factory and more employees, but no customers. He has to shut down the factory, lay off everyone, and slowly start lowering his prices. This is called recession.
Yeah.
When COVID shut down the world, governments gave us money, free money. They're like, don't panic and hoard all your money. Instead, spend and borrow and keep the economy going. Here in the US, they literally sent us $3,200 checks. They gave $600 a week to people who were unemployed for months and months and months. They gave subsidies to people with kids. They increased spending on food stamps. I mean, trillions and trillions of dollars of stimulus
Rich people
money.
got it.
This
if
was
I remember
vital
correctly.
aid to people in need. But even people who didn't lose a job got a check in the mail. It was free money for everyone. And we spent it.
I just picked up myself a new bike. Demand is up across the country.
It's time to grind, Peloton.
We all just got these big checks from the government. During a pandemic, we're like, YOLO, I'm buying a boat or a Peloton or whatever.
Pokemon cards.
There's Netflix.
Fortnite.
A new motor.
Peloton.
Good soak in a hot tub.
Animal Crossing.
Push it out a little bit so it's
No, don't you dare!
But pair all this new spending with the fact that the pandemic also made it harder for factories and ships and retailers to get us all this stuff.
Supply chain issue.
Global supply chain.
Supply chain.
So now you have an economy where people have way more money than normal and they're ready to spend it, but the economy can't get them stuff fast enough. So what do businesses do with all this insane new demand? They raise prices all at the same time, and that is inflation. I feel like we're getting this at this point. But what do interest rates have to do with all this?
Raising the interest rate.
Interest rate.
Or the Fed?
It's just ridiculous that in US people literally got checks of money. Oh, it's Corona, it's lockdown. No wonder, here's a fucking check. Go spend money. That's the definition of rich country if I ever seen one. That's just some next level shit. But yeah, I think just flooding the market in just giving everybody money. I mean, obviously there is an element of that when everybody's kind of struggling because of the lockdown. But if you give people money where they spend money on useless things that they don't need, they otherwise wouldn't have bought, then it's a problem. Like, okay, you're giving a bit too much money at this point. Keeping the economy going is a important thing, but giving too much money it's just fucked up. It's gonna create recession, like this video says.
The Federal Reserve.
The Federal Reserve.
Most countries have a central bank, the puppet master of the economy, the bank of all banks for that country. But it's not like a normal bank that stores our money and then lends it out and collects interest to make profit. That's what a normal private bank does. The central bank, which we call the Fed here in the US, is run by the government. So their job is to set the rules or policies that all the other banks have to follow. And the central bank isn't motivated by profit, but rather their job is to babysit the economy, to keep it growing, to make sure people have jobs, to make sure that prices don't fluctuate too much so that we can keep growing nicely. No slowdown, no recession. That is what the Fed is there for. But seriously, the Fed is like a puppet master, and we're the puppets, and it's kind of creepy. They pull strings in the economy to get us to spend our money in a certain way, which in turn affects how much businesses raise or drop their prices. And guess what? It totally works. One of the strings that they have to pull.
I mean, yeah, look, there is I don't know how else to explain this. It's, global economy is already way too hard to comprehend for average people like us, basically. But only way I can explain this is that because there's a concept called country, and since there are countries, and these countries do this inter-trading with each other. And basically how the money works, the element of money, element of how economies work, how global trade works. They have to do this. They have to be puppeteer like this, right? Because I think it was CGP Gray's video about traffic, right? Like if a car stops in the highway and suddenly brakes, that will create a weird snake type chain effect where at that spot every other car will slow down and entire highway will be jammed just because of that one brake. That's what happens when economy stops. It will have this kind of snake type effect, right? Which will last for years, even decades. So obviously they're gonna flood the market with money for, just tell people to buy shit, just keep the industry going, keep the economy going, and be that kind of puppeteer, because in the end money don't matter at the global scale. It's all trading and resources, things like that. Money is just the inter-country thing, right, in reality. So obviously if the, to average person, the money is a thing that you get, right, when you provide some services and you buy shit with it. That's what us average people think of. But that's not how global economy works at the global scale, I guess. I don't know how else to explain this. So they have to be puppeteer like this, otherwise the economy will be fucked. And this will have inflation. This will have somewhat of recession, close to recession type of effect. But then again, they could cover all these things up, right, through interest rate or whatever, and balance the scales in the future. But temporarily they have to do this, otherwise the economy stops.
The economy is called the interest rate. Want to borrow money to buy a car or a house or expand your business? You're going to be way more likely to do that if you only have to pay 2% interest on that loan as opposed to like 6%. Lower interest rates equal people and businesses want to borrow and spend money. So during the pandemic, the central bank was like, we need everyone to spend money. So they lowered the interest rate and people borrowed and people spent 1%. And it totally worked. We're like freaking puppets. So a low interest rate helps stimulate the economy. But once again, we're in this same place where there's now too much money to borrow and spend and not enough.
It's not really being a puppet. It's like they want people to spend money, but there are lockdowns, literal lockdowns where nobody can work. So at that point, they have to lower the interest rate if they want people to, I guess, spend money, right, and keep the economy going.
goods and services to spend it on. So what do businesses do all at the same time? They raise prices to meet all this new demand all at the same time, and now your money is worth less, and that is inflation.
Home prices rising at their highest
Astronomical bidding wars.
Rents are going up
by nearly 24%.
So that's what's happening right now. All the prices are rising kind of at the same time. What that means is that your $100 bill is now worth 8% less than it was last year. Like the same money is worth less because your purchasing power just got diluted. And imagine if that keeps happening. Like instead of 8%, it's 50%. Now your $100 bill is worth what $50 used to be. And that's when people start to freak out. And our economy that's built on human psychology starts to falter, and we fall into a recession or a depression even, if it gets real bad, which is exactly what the Fed is built to avoid. So they're back to pulling their strings, and they've started raising rates.
The Federal Reserve is raising interest
The
rates.
Federal Reserve taking action to try and curb rising inflation.
They're gently raising the interest rate to cool down all of this hardcore spending and borrowing. See if they can steer the ship back on course. And let's hope it works. Okay, did we do it? Did we do it in the time period that I promised I would? I have no idea. We'll find out.
Oh, there you go. Wait a minute, there's more.
Okay, last thing I want to say is a thing that didn't make it into my little inflation explainer. But a few years ago, when I worked at Vox, I went to Venezuela and Colombia to do a Borders series. I saw inflation up close and personal because in Venezuela, inflation got so out of control and they couldn't, the Fed, the puppet master couldn't like figure out how to get it back in control, that their money became worth nothing. The prices went up so high that their money became basically worthless. You needed like a pile of cash to buy bread. So what they started doing is they started using the currency itself to make things. Like I visited this guy on the street who was making like purses and bags and like sculptures out of cash, because it was worth more as a raw material than it was as like money, as a currency, which is insane.
That fucking
That's
hurts.
a very extreme version of inflation. It's happened in several countries that have done this. We're not in that situation, even close to that situation, but it's an example of
Yeah. Okay, if US in that situation, most countries in the world is fucked, because most countries' currencies are tied to dollar. So let's hope that doesn't happen.
just how tenuous modern economies are. They're not like pegged to gold or whatever. They're like pegged to a bunch of humans believing that this stuff is worth something, and it can quickly go off the rails. So I thought I'd share that little fun thing that is more documented in the Vox Borders episode that you can go watch on.
Yeah, all right. So basically, the point here is simple, right? Whatever at the intro of the video, the point I made is kind of stands that your country has certain value, and the currency you use, that really doesn't matter, right? If you flood your market with more currency, the prices, the worth of that currency will drop. Basically, that's what it means. Whether you use reserve or print more money, reserve is just reserve, right? It's not circulating money. So even if you release the reserve at that point and give people more money, you're still flooding the market with more currency, and that's not going to raise the worth of your economy. So that is one of the factor that the prices of things also go up, because everything is made in some other country here and there, and it's just global trading at this point, right? So obviously, if you just flood the market with more currency, it's going to worth less and less and less, and prices will go up. Now with the Federal Reserves, asking for more interest. They'll basically get money the way they release the reserve. By the interest, they will start to get more money back and balance the scales, and also encourage people not to spend as much, right, to balance the scales that way. But yeah, it's basically how much you flood the market with the currency, right? That's gonna do inflation. I mean, what was the Top Gear episode on Vietnam? I think it was Vietnam, right? Where it's like certain million currency, and they're like, holy shit, that's a lot of money. No, it's not. You can't even buy a car with it. So that's what basically it is. And like he said about the Colombia, whatever here, where the money is worth nothing, that they actually create shit with it, because the paper itself worth more than the actual currency, which is fucked up. It hurts actually. If scenario like that happens, it just fucking hurts seeing that. Alright, well, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.